Hey guys, it's me, and today I am here with a new video for you guys. And today we are going to be talking about the aftermath of Eurovision 2024. Today that I'm filming this video, it is currently the day after the grand final. And so the competition has come to an end. Really good year for Eurovision this year. There were a lot of strong entries, and there's already controversies that have come about this year as well within just these past couple of days and everything, and I can only assume more things are happening. I have not been on Twitter since probably yesterday morning and everything, so I don't know what things are looking like within the fandom. I can only imagine that people are upset because once again the public vote winner did not win this year, so I can only assume that things are not going well. But I'm gonna do this video like I did the roundup video that I did last year. And so what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna do breakdowns of the first two semifinals, and then we'll do a breakdown of the grand final, and we'll talk about the competition as a whole and everything, like talking about the hosting, different bits that have happened here and there within the show and whatnot, and talk about like any controversies, any stories and whatnot that have come about during the competition, and we will touch on those things here in this video. There's probably some other things that have been happening behind the scenes and whatnot that I'm not going to discuss in this video because I just don't have any of that information and knowledge at my fingertips, just simply because I try to stay away from like the ugly sides of the competition, because Eurovision is something that brings me a lot of peace, joy, and happiness, so I try to stay away from like the ugly sides of things. But we're gonna go ahead and dive on into this. But before we do so, if you guys are new here to my channel, don't forget to hit subscribe, and also while you're down there, definitely give this video a thumbs up because that'll help me out a lot. All my links are down in the description box below, which are in the links to my Twitter, Instagram, and my beauty, fashion, lifestyle channel, so definitely check me out in those places if you're interested. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Before we start talking about the rankings within like the semifinals and then the grand final, I do want to touch on the hosting. I do want to touch on the hosting and whatnot, because I was a bit shocked. I'll touch on the hosting and then I'll touch on some other things too. But I'll touch on some of the other things like once we get into like particular semifinals and the grand final and whatnot, because some of them are like more exclusive to those parts of the competition. Right now, I want to talk about the two hosts this year. So I was not expecting there to be but just two hosts for the competition. Keep in mind, I've only been keeping up with Eurovision but since 2017. 2017, I was loosely keeping up with it. Like I knew that it was happening, but there was no way for me to watch the semifinals or the grand final back in 2017. I just had to rely on what people were saying on Twitter and maybe like a few clips that I would see here and there, but that's about it. But in 2018, I was able to watch the grand final live for 2018, and then since then I've been able to keep up with like semifinals and the grand final. In like the 6-7 years that I've been keeping up with the competition, I have always seen like 3 to 4 hosts hosting the show for the competition, and this year there was only 2, and I found that to be really interesting because I mean, like, is it a bad thing to have 2 hosts? No, I don't think so. It was just interesting for me because it's just like it can kind of make things a little bit difficult in a way having just 2 hosts and everything, because you gotta make sure that like they bounce off each other really well and whatnot. And then also like I always worry about a host being like, I want to be the star of the show and you're not going to be the star of the show. And when you have 2 hosts, it makes it a lot easier for that to possibly be a thing. So the 2 hosts this year, which I'm probably going to butcher their names, I am very, very sorry about this. I am just a white boy from the southeastern US, so I'm probably going to butcher a lot of this shit. Okay, so forgive me. But the 2 hosts this year were Malin Ackerman and then Petra Med. They were great hosts. I feel like Malin was more so like the cool chill aunt, and then Pietra was the cool unhinged spicy aunt. That's the kind of vibes that I got from them. Like, they played off each other really well because Malin was, like I said, very chill. Like, yeah, she had like a few clips here and there, but her presentation was just like really chill, very laid back, very just like mellow and everything. And Petra also had like that mellowness to her as well, but she was really spicy and a bit unhinged. Like, the bits that they did that incorporated her in the show were just wild to me. Because, I mean, like, in, like, the second semifinals, she had, like, a song number. In the grand final, she had, like, a postcard just about her during the grand final. And then, in both the semifinals, like, she had moments where she was just being so funny. Like, is it scripted? Most likely, yes. Both of them in general, like, they were great hosts. They were fantastic. They were hilarious. They made the show really fun, especially with just having but 2 hosts and everything. Like, it was just the 2 of them, so it's just like, again, there's a lot more pressure, I feel, with just having but 2 hosts. It's just the 2 of you, so you have to play off of each other. If there's 3 hosts, then the 3 of you can play off of each other, and it makes things a little bit easier, and it's even easier if you have 4. But when there's just 2, like, you have to be careful that it's just like there's no dead air. Something that I mentioned, I want to say I mentioned this in my top 10 video for this year's competition. I want to say I mentioned this in that particular video, but this was a very queer-centric year. And what further added on to me fully believing that this year was for the gays was really Petra. Petra, again, spicy aunt. Like, she was just on it and everything. Like, all the gay shit was happening around her as a host. For an example, like during the first semifinal, there's that one bit where she's talking about the Eurovision app, and she pulls like a guy's phone, and like they're looking at his phone, and she's talking about all the different perks of the app, and then the Grindr notification goes off. Yeah, and then it just keeps going off and it keeps popping off, and then she's just like, looks like you're having a wonderful time, Amalma, this week. Child, the way I screamed when that happened. And then there was also that one bit during the second semifinal where she's just like, these are the entries that didn't qualify over the years, but if you know these songs and everything, that just means that you are a true a true Eurovision fan. That bit broke me. Also, I really love the bit of them talking about how, like, the winner of the grand final was not only gonna get the trophy, but they were also gonna get, like, what was it, like, the 6th season, or, like, all the seasons of the Gilmore Girls. And then when they were talking about how, like, the different formats that you can, like, purchase, like, the songs for the competition this year, and, like, you can get, like, the DVD, you can get, the vinyl and whatnot. And then, like, Petra just walks over to the side and she's like, and there's also the Eurovision 2024 runestone. When that happened, I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you, like, they just absolutely unhinged, but I loved every moment of it. And again, with me being, like, someone from the US, I don't know these people. I don't know these hosts. Like, in the years that I've kept up with the competition, I have only recognized but 2 hosts. No, 3 hosts within the competition. Actually, no, 4. I had to think about it. 4 hosts that I've recognized within the competition, and those are going to be one of the hosts for 2018 when it was held in Portugal. One of the hosts, I don't remember her name, but she is a actress, and she was in NCIS Los Angeles, I believe. Because, I mean, as a kid, like, I watched that show a good bit because my dad loved NCIS and everything, and so we would watch it together every now and again. I think she played a character named Beckett, I think is what her character's name was. I can't remember, this was so long ago. Then in 2021, Nikki Tutorials was one of the hosts in the Netherlands, which I've been following her for a very, very, very long time. I think I've been following her since like 2014, I think. Yeah, I've been following her for a very, very long time. And I also knew of, what's his name? Is his name Jan? I think his name is Jan. I know teeny tiny little bit about him just simply from seeing like clips of Beste Singers over the years and whatnot because of Floor Jansen, Anneke Heesrum being on the show. And then in 2023, I knew of Graham Norton because he was kind of sort of a host for Eurovision 2024. No, because he was kind of sort of a host in 2023, like he only popped in during the grand final and was only there but for a brief moment because he was both hosting and commentating. But also that year, Julia from The Hard Kiss was the host that represented Ukraine last year, and me, if you are familiar with this channel, you all know that I love The Hard Kiss, and they are one of my favorites, and so I was very, very happy and excited to see her there. Generally speaking though, I don't know these people and everything. I'm not European. I don't keep up with European media really ever, aside from like music. I don't know the significance behind these hosts, so please forgive my ignorance. Like, I don't know if these are like big names within like the entertainment world, and I just don't know who they are and whatnot. And so yeah, during the grand final, it was looking like people were like really excited about seeing Petra and were referencing like previous years, and then like I think she's like been part of the competition before multiple times and everything and whatnot. I don't know in terms of like hosting or other things and whatnot. I don't know. I do not know, but apparently she's a big deal and I did not know. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop talking about hosting for now, like the general like scope of like the hosting for this year. And now let's go ahead and start talking about the rankings and then like things happening within like the individual rounds, so like the 2 semifinals and the grand final and things like that, and any little bits of controversies that I am aware of, which I mean there is one big one that I will be discussing kind of sort of briefly as well. Let's go ahead and start out with semifinal 1. So in the first semifinal we had 15 entries, and I am going to start talking about these entries and whatnot, how I felt about how they performed and whatnot, but I'm going to be going in terms of not running order, but in terms of their rankings. So I am using some pages from Eurovisionworld.com to get this information out to you guys. So on here it shows how many points each of the countries received during the semifinals, and so we are going to be using this to gauge the rankings for the entries for the semifinals and whatnot. So yeah, so coming up in dead last, and this person is dead last in the competition as well, and whatnot. So they came in last place for the first semifinal, and they also came in last place in the entire competition when you break things down entirely and whatnot. That is going to be Iceland with their song Scared of Heights by Hera Björk. They only received but 3 points. This song was boring. It was boring. I saw some comments saying that this is basically Embers by James Newman, and I definitely see it and everything. Like, Homegirl's got a great voice, but this song is just so bland. The weakest song in my opinion this year, and like I feel like the weakest songs this year definitely did not qualify. And it definitely shows like which of those songs were, because this one is definitely like a skip for me this year and whatnot. And I did hear like when I was watching a Novempia video that there were some like rumors going around that like there's possibly some weird stuff happening behind the scenes with this song making it into like the competition and whatnot. So there's possibly something happening there too and everything, but the fact that they didn't qualify and that they came in dead last and everything just goes to show you that if there was any meddling involved with this particular entry, the public did not buy into it. Coming in 14th place, we have Azerbaijan with I think it's pronounced Uzula Apa? I do not know. I feel like this could be a good song, but again, just very bland. Very boring. This was another skip for me this year. And it had a lot of things going for it. Like, it could potentially be a really good song. I just feel as if it was very poorly executed and it just didn't have the right kinds of singers involved with it and whatnot. It was just really lacking. The staging was really cool though. I did really like their staging, but that's the only thing I remember though. I only remember the staging. I don't remember the song at all. They got 11 points, so they didn't come. Did they come in second to last place then? Yeah, they came in second to last place this year. Okay, cool. I've always have heard over the years that like Azerbaijan is like a very sketchy country within the competition. Like there's always like rumors and things like that. I'm hearing about after the competition that like they cheat a lot and everything. I don't know if that's true at all, but if that is the case, then clearly things did not work out for them this year. 13th place, we have Moldova, which was in the middle by Natalia Barbu. They had 20 points. This song is not bad. It's not bad. Like, Homegirl can fucking sing. I just feel as if the song wasn't the best. She sung it perfectly, but the song itself is just not that great. It's not that interesting. And the staging was, the backdrop, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, but there just wasn't enough there. Like, if you were just gonna stand there on stage, that is such a risky move. And for some people it can work, but other people it doesn't. And in this case, it did not work out. Coming in 12th, we have Poland Century, which is The Tower by Luna. They got 35 points. They actually did a little bit better than I was expecting them to do. I was expecting this to be a little bit lower. I feel as if like Moldova was just a little bit better than this song here. This song just was not competitive, which can also be said about Moldova's entry too. It's just not a competitive song and everything. Like, is it nice to put on and everything? Yeah. It's also not one that I really would ever gravitate towards too. It's not my thing, but it's not a competitive song either. And so when you look at the grand scheme of the competition, this is not something that can really stand on its own in comparison to everybody else, especially considering like how good of a year this was too. And then in 11th place, we have Australia, which was, I believe it's one Mikali. I can't remember how they pronounced it, but it's One Blood by Electric Fields. This, I was kind of shocked that it didn't qualify. It was close to qualifying and everything because they got 41 points. It was very close to qualifying, as we'll see once we get to who came in 10th place. But, did I really care for this song this year? No, it wasn't my thing, but the staging and just the vibe of it all was really good and I liked it and everything. The audio did get a little bit weird when the didgeridoo came out. That part was a little bit odd to me. But overall though, I felt this was like a really solid performance. Even though it's not my thing, I thought that it was really solid. The fact that they were 11th place and that they were so close to qualifying just once again goes to show you that this was a very strong year, because once we get into like the 10 who did qualify this year, you're gonna see like just how tough this was for people, and this particular semifinal was a really tough one. Coming up in 10th place, we have Serbia with Romonda by Teodora, which they are one of my top 10 favorites this year. They had 47 points. So they just beat Australia by 6 points. I was actually shocked that they qualified. Even though that they were in my top 10, I was shocked that they qualified because I just felt as if like the staging was a bit simple, the song was pretty simple and everything, like the presentation and the execution was all really simple, but I feel like people were really gravitating towards like the theatrical, emotive songs this year a little bit, as we will come to see with some other entries that we will be discussing in this particular semifinal. This was definitely a shocker for me, like I said, because when looking at everybody else, I was just like, I didn't think that they were gonna make it. I did not think they were gonna make it, but then they did, and I was pleasantly surprised. Coming in 9th place, we have Slovenia, which is Veronica by Raven. This was one of my top 4. This song, I knew it was going to be a hard sell. I knew that it probably wouldn't do the best in the competition, which we will see in the grand final, but that's just a little like teaser for when we get to that portion of this video. But this particular song got 51 points. I'm so glad that I qualified. Like, her staging was really nice. I really like the staging. The vocals were amazing, absolutely amazing. And like, Homegirl was like basically naked on that stage, and I was shocked that they were able to do that. Like, Maruf performing Siren Song in the national selection was like very sexy and everything. This is on a different level because, like I said, Homegirl is practically naked on that stage, but I thought that this was a very solid performance, and I was so happy that they qualified, because this was one, and I think I even mentioned this in my top 10 video, that this was a song that is like an underrated like sleeper hit for the competition this year and whatnot, and so I was a bit worried about it, but they did qualify, so I'm very happy about that. Coming up in 8th place, we have Portugal with their song Grito by Yolanda. They had 58 points. I mentioned this in my top 10 video that this song wasn't on my top 10, but I kind of hinted that it was making its way into my honorable mentions. And after seeing them perform in this semifinal here, the song did make it onto my favorite Eurovision songs playlist. I really like this song now. It's beautiful. Like, the presentation, the music itself is just gorgeous. It is beautiful. And her makeup, that makeup that she had on, I loved her makeup so much. It was so good. It was so pretty and just so good. I was shocked that all 3 of those songs actually made it through, because I was expecting maybe at most 2 of them making it through and not all 3. But, I mean, when you look at the numbers, though, they were neck and neck with each other. Because, I mean, Portugal had 58, Slovenia had 51, and Serbia had 47. So they were, like, all neck and neck with each other. Coming up in 7th place, we have Finland, which is No Rules by Windows 95 Man. They had 59 points. I knew that this would qualify. I knew that this would qualify from the beginning. It's not my thing. It's not my thing. It's not my kind of song. The staging is so chaotic. It's fun, yes, but it's so chaotic. It's so Eurovision. I'm glad that they qualified and everything, because it's a hype song. It's not for me, but it's a good time though. This is placing higher than I was expecting it to place, because I mean, when it qualified, I was just like, oh, okay. And I mean, I wasn't upset about it qualifying, but to see that it came in 6th place, I'm like, okay. And that is Cyprus with Liar by, is it Celia? Yeah, Celia Kapsis, with 67 points. So this song was like very much like your typical girl bop. Like, I felt as if, like, is this a good song? Yes, but it's very westernized, in which I feel like all the other entries that we've covered so far are very Eastern, whereas this is very westernized. Because of that, I was a bit shocked that it did so well, because sometimes the very westernized songs, I've noticed over the years, sometimes they can do really well, but a lot of times they don't. The staging wasn't the most exciting to me, and also the song isn't really my thing either and whatnot. Is it a bad song? No, but it's not my thing either. And so it's a competitive song though, and it did really well apparently, so people were really enjoying it. But then again, this particular semifinal didn't really have that many boppy type of songs. And so that can also be a big part as to why it ranked a bit high as well, because there wasn't that many other songs that were like it in this semifinal. Coming in 5th place, we have Luxembourg with Fighter by Tali, which they had 117 points. That is a massive jump from like 6th place having 67 to 5th place having 117. So people clearly when it came to like the top 5, people clearly had their favorites. For me, I didn't care for the song. Is it a solid song? Yes. Is it a bit competitive? Maybe. And everything. Part of me thinks that some of the votes went to them because of the fact that Luxembourg hasn't been in a competition for like, what is it, like 3 decades? Like, part of me wonders if they made it into the final because of that and everything, just for like the novelty of it. But other than that though, I do think that this was a solid song and everything, and the staging was really interesting. The leopards were very strange to me with the LED screens and whatnot. Like, again, like the staging this year was wild and everything with the LEDs and whatnot. Like, they definitely utilized them guys perfectly this year. Next up, let's go into 4th place, which is Lithuania with Luktelk by Sylvester Belt, and they had 119 points. So yeah, neck and neck with Luxembourg here. This song is like a chill bop. Like, it wasn't my thing, and it's because of the fact that it's just like not a whole lot going on with it. I do like the beat of it. I just don't care for the vocals at all. The vocals are just way too simple. I thought that the staging was nice too. I thought that it was cool. But other than that though, I didn't really care for the song this year. I do like that Lithuania is starting to send songs in Lithuanian though. I do really like that though. Coming in 3rd place, we have Ireland with Doomsday Blue by Bambi Thug with 124 points. I prefer this performance here. I don't like the studio cut. I did not like the national selection performance, but this here, like the semifinal and then in the grand final, I really love the sound mixing that they had. It was just really good, very solid. You're able to really hear them, and just amazing. And I love that A Scary Bitch made it into the top 3 for the semifinals, and that they just did so well in the competition in general. And I'm just very happy about it. Like, the staging was so fucking chaotic. It was wild. It was crazy, but it was great. I loved it. I loved every moment of it. And I also really loved the outfit reveal, because I was not expecting a reveal for the outfit at all and everything, to go from like this spooky, scary, like ballerina-esque type of outfit to revealing this trans pride flag number. I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was really solid. And so, yeah, I still don't like the studio cut of the song, but I do really like this live performance here. The top 2 were neck and neck with each other, but there's another jump. So coming in 2nd place, we have Ukraine with Teresa Maria by Alya and Jerry Heil with 173 points. This song, like the moment that Jerry stepped onto that stage, I was just like, ooh, this is nice. And then like she just starts walking up the stage and everything, and then the moment that she started walking up that fucking hill, I immediately knew. I was just like, oh, they're qualifying this year. They're qualifying. This is some wild fucking staging and everything. And this was so early on into the show too. They were 5th in the running order this year. Absolutely wild. Their staging, for me personally, they had the best staging this year. Was it a lot? Absolutely. But it was beautiful. It was insane. It was amazing. There was a lot happening, but I just loved it through and through. It was just so good. And I love the song too. When the songs first started rolling out, this was my first favorite that I came across this year. And I just loved this so much. It was just so good. The winner of the first semifinal was Croatia with Rim Tim Tegadim by Baby Lasagna with 177 points. I loved this so much, and I'm so happy that they came in first place in the first semifinal. Croatia has been a country that has been struggling for a long time in the competition, so for them to go from basically 0 to hero this year, I mean, yeah, they qualified last year too, but this year is just like, for a country that typically comes rather low or just isn't fully there, to being like the winner of a semifinal, that's just amazing. That is an amazing feat right there. Now, another thing that happened in the semifinal, and this also happened in the second semifinal as well, is that they actually didn't do like they've done in the past, where they would play like a snippet for like 3 of the entries that are going into the grand final. So like maybe like 2 or 3 of the members of the Big Five, the winner of last year's competitions at the hosting country's entry. They didn't do like they've done in the past, with me keeping up with the competition at least, where they would just play a little snippet of the performance from rehearsals and then interview that particular country and everything. They didn't do that. No, they just let them perform the entire song during the semifinal, and you just couldn't vote for them. I thought that this was a very smart plan. Would make it to where people could be a bit more hyped for the Big Five this year and the hosting country's entry this year. I found that it worked really well for them in that sense, especially for like countries within the Big Five that have been struggling over the years. Like I know the UK did really well in 2022, but I mean, other than that though, they typically struggle. Germany typically struggles. Spain can be extremely hit or miss. But obviously, like France and Italy especially tend to do very, very well in the grand final. But to give them their little moments to where they can just like perform the song in front of everybody and the entire song, and we can see everything happen, I think that that's a really smart move, because just giving everybody that one chance during the grand final to see the song, is it a bad move? No. But can it do a number on how people view the songs in the end? Yes. Because for some people, they don't keep up with the competition months beforehand like someone like myself does. They only keep up with the competition during the week of. So they're only hearing these songs during the semifinals and the grand final. And so if a song is only being performed one time, then they only have that one time to make an impression. If they're able to perform it during the semifinals though, that gives them an extra edge and an extra level of possibility to get more points. Now, obviously, we will come to find out that that doesn't necessarily help in the end, but it can definitely help out a bit more. Alright, so now let's go ahead and move on into the second semifinal. So there were 16 entries in the second semifinal, and so we're going to go all the way down to 16th place, which I feel as if this country got done dirty, and I will talk about that momentarily. And this is Malta with Loop by Sara Bonici. I personally feel as if they got done dirty, and here is my conspiracy theory behind it. Now, first of all, I don't really think that the song is that great. It's not one of my favorites this year. The vocals were really good. The performance was really great. Here's where my conspiracy theory comes into play. I truly think that they probably should have qualified, especially considering like some of the other entries I qualified this year, which we will talk about that. Even though this was a song that I didn't care for, I personally think that they should have qualified. And what I think made it to where they didn't qualify isn't because of the fact that they came first in the running order. Because for me personally, to a degree, running order does not play that big of a deal, especially in the semifinals. In the grand final, it definitely can. But in the semifinals, not so much. Where I think that they got done dirty though is during the voting. Because when it comes to Eurovision, if you're unaware of the competition and everything, which I highly doubt if you're watching this video that you're unaware of this competition. So when it comes to the voting period and everything, like when they open up the lines for people to start casting their votes for whom they want to make it into the grand final during the semifinals, and even during the grand final when they open up the votes and everything for people to start voting and whatnot, when they played Malta's entry, it was during a segment of the song where there was no singing. It was just during the dance breakdown. I personally think that them doing that did them a massive disservice because people weren't able to remember the song. Because like, again, like running order, I personally don't think running order plays a big deal in the semifinals. But if you're not playing a snippet of the actual vocals and whatnot, people aren't going to remember the song. If you're just playing like the dance bit and everything, they're not going to remember it. And so for me personally, I feel as if that they got done dirty. Like, I think that they probably could have been able to qualify. I don't think that they should have deserved coming in last place. This is all my personal opinions. And keep in mind, remember, again, this is an entry that I did not care for. And I still believe that they should have been able to have a better chance of qualifying this year. Coming up in 15th place is Albania with Titan by Besa. Albania is a country that I tend to root for every year because Albania, there's just something about Albania that just appeals to me. I don't know. Their entries tend to be extremely underrated every single year, and they always have like a really big sound. They always do a revamp, and sometimes the revamps can be for the better, sometimes they can be for the worse. A big example of that for me personally is what was supposed to be their entry in 2020 when they took Shy and turn it into Fall from the Sky. I preferred Shy over Fall from the Sky. That's just me and everything. I felt as if it took away a lot of the drama and the power when they like did that revamp. And I feel like when they did the revamp for Titan, they structured it a lot better because the original version was all over the place. It was very clunky, but it's not a competitive song. It is not competitive. Is it nice? Yes. Has it been stuck in my head all morning for whatever reason? Yes. Other than that though, it's just very meh. And so I wasn't surprised that they didn't qualify this year, and they only got by 14 points. Did I mention that Malta got 13? If I didn't mention that Malta got 13 points, I'm mentioning it now. But yeah, Albania only got by 14 points, and yeah. Especially seeing these numbers and everything, I kind of expected them to do better, but then again, like, looking back at their performance, it was also a little bit clunky. This is San Marino with 1111 by Megara. I have known about Megara for a little bit now. I think I've known about them for about maybe like a year or two and everything. It's not really my thing. This was a fun song. I just feel as if they got a little too into it and everything. Like, this is just, it got to a point where things were getting a little messy and whatnot, because like there came a point where like she was like losing her footing and like not having the mic close to her because she's jamming out too much. There are also times where she just looked really uncomfortable and everything. Like, it was just a bit much. It was just a really clunky performance. Like, that's the best way that I can describe it, is that it was a clunky performance. And I think that's ultimately what did them in. They got 16 points. So again, still really low in the numbers. Like the bottom four were neck and neck and everything in terms of points this year. I do feel a bit bad for them because San Marino is a country that I tend to look forward to seeing, just simply because they kind of just do whatever it is that they want to do. I feel as if like when it comes to like the microstates, I feel like that might be like a kind of thing that they typically do, because it's just like there's hardly anybody in their country. And so yeah, like, to put it in perspective, there are, last time I checked, this was a couple of years ago, there were 35,000 people living in San Marino. There are 25,000 people living in my hometown. Yeah. Coming up in 13th place, we have Belgium, which is Before the Party is Over by Musti with 18 points. This was a song that I was thinking it could go either way. Like, it could qualify or it could not. And after seeing their performance in the grand final, I was just like, this probably isn't going to qualify. And the reason why I started thinking that is just that part of it is because of the exit. The staging wasn't really anything exciting, and then the exit of the song is just so repetitive. And like, I was hoping, and I feel like a lot of people were also hoping for this, that for the grand final that they would throw in like a surprise, like adding like extra vocals, like doing different things and everything to like set it apart from like the studio version and like the national selection performances, if they had one for this song. Like, just doing things that were different and everything to like add like an extra bit of wow factor. Like, I mean, like for an example, like look at Slovenia. Like they extended the song for the competition because the actual runtime for the song I think is like 2.5 minutes. They extended the exit and everything to allow Raven to really show off those high notes and everything, and to get very theatrical and just really help to pull you in with that performance and whatnot. But here it's just like nothing was really happening for like the last 30 seconds of the song besides him just like passionately shout singing before the party's over and over and over again. And it's just like, it just got boring. Coming up in 12th place, this was an entry that I was sad to see not qualify, and because they were one of my top 10 this year, and that is Denmark with Sand by Saba. They did have 36 points though, however, so they did have a jump in terms of points and everything, so they did get a good bit more and everything. They got double the amount of points of Belgium, which was in 13th place, so they did get a jump in terms of points. I feel as if the staging just really did them in and whatnot, and like the vocal was great, it's just that she just stood there and everything. And again, kind of like how I was talking with Moldova, if you're just going to be on stage by yourself and you're just going to stand there, that is a very, very risky move. To a degree, I feel as if this song could have qualified, especially when you look at like some of the entries that did qualify, which again, we'll touch on those. It's just, I'm sad, but at the same time though, I do understand why it didn't qualify. So I am not too pressed about that, because this was definitely a song that I was nervous about whether it would qualify or not. And so I had a feeling that there was a chance that it wouldn't, but I was holding out hope, but sadly they didn't make it. 11th place, and this is again another situation with like the qualifiers like being neck and neck and whatnot, because Czechia came in 11th place with Pedestal by Aiko having 38 points. This song, it's a good song. I don't care for it. It's a good song and everything. I feel as if like the staging wasn't the greatest and the song just didn't have much of an edge to it like it originally did and whatnot. It became a bit more poppy with the revamp that they did for it, which I mean isn't necessarily a bad thing, but like I said, it lost a lot of its edge in the revamp, and so I feel like that kind of played a role into it not panning out too well. And then also like that one bit where they added in like a dialogue moment and whatnot, I didn't care for it. I didn't care for it. Kind of took me out a little bit. Am I upset that they didn't qualify? Not really. But could I have seen them qualify? Maybe, and everything. And so, like I said, they came in 11th place, and when you see how many points 10th place got, it'll just show you how neck and neck people are. And like 9th through 12th place are like neck and neck with each other. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and move on into 10th place, which was Norway with Ulvaham by Gota with 43 points. So they beat out Czechia by 5 points. This semifinal here is just so neck and neck. A lot of the entries in this particular semifinal, in my personal opinion, are all on like a very similar playing field. And that's what made this particular semifinal very tricky, is that like a lot of them, there weren't too many that were like, oh, this is absolutely amazing how it was in the first semifinal, but they're all like, oh, this is a very solid song. And they were all together in the same semifinal, so it made it really difficult to pick out like whom it was that's going to qualify. Who do you want to vote for? This was one of the songs like, again, like, what's into my top 10? No. But do I like it? Yes. It has some things going for it that are nice. It's not really a favorite of mine, but again, I liked it. And this wasn't a song that I was just like thinking like, this could either do really well or not the greatest. And so in this semifinal, they got 43 points. And so they qualified, but they came in 10th place. So in terms of the qualifiers, they were at the low end. I feel as if the song was really good. The staging was nice and everything. It was really cool staging. And the song is cool and everything. I like the vocals, but I think it's the vocals that can really set people off. It's not for everybody. This is a very polarizing kind of song. Like, it is definitely not for everyone. And I think, like, especially when we start talking about the grand final, that's where we really start seeing that this is not for everybody. This is like a very polarizing song. Like, you either enjoy it or you don't. And it's because of those folk influences, like that traditional, like, Nordic style of singing. It is not for everybody, because there comes a point where it just sounds as if you're just wailing. And for some people, that is not their thing. For others, they can get into it. I can get into it at times, but not all the time. Coming up in 9th place, we have Austria, which is We Will Rave by Colleen with 46 points. This song, I was happy that it qualified. This was in my top 10, and I was happy that it qualified. I had a feeling that it could go either way, and with it having 46 points, again, it just goes to show you that this was like really neck and neck, with teetering along the lines of qualifying and not qualifying. And this is Europop. This is Eurodance. And this is something that appeals to my childhood. This is something that I was very much looking forward to seeing, and I feel like the staging was really solid. Was the choreography that great? No. I feel like Malta's choreography was a lot better, but still, I was really happy with how it turned out though. And the vocals, were they that interesting? No. Ultimately, what I think really helped them to qualify is just the fact that this song is just a really fun Eurodance, Europop, girl bop type of song, and I think that's ultimately what really helped to sell it and help it to qualify, and for that I'm really happy about. So yeah, I can't complain. I really like this song. Coming up in 8th place, I screamed when these guys qualified, because for one, it confirmed that my top 4 were making it into the grand final, but I was just so excited for them, because I have been rooting for this country for so long and everything, and hoping for them to qualify for so long in my years of keeping up with the competition, and that is Georgia with Firefighter by Mutsa with 54 points. I screamed, and they announced them towards the end too, and so like I think they were like the 8th country to be announced during the announcements for like whom all qualified and whatnot, and I screamed. I was so, because I was like freaking the fuck out, and I was just like please let them qualify. They have to qualify, and they did, and I lived. I was just so fucking happy. This song is so good. I kind of wonder if this was my favorite song this year, because I just love it so much. The staging was so good. Like, the choreography was amazing, the staging was great, the vocals were great. I'm just so over the moon and happy and excited for them, because I mean, like, in the years that I have been keeping up with the competition, Georgia has not qualified, and so for them to finally qualify, I was so happy about it. And no, I'm not just simply rooting for them because I live in the state of Georgia here in the US. No, I root for these guys because they are one of the underdogs, and also they just send whatever the hell it is that they want to send. I mean, look at Circus Mircus, okay? Prime example of them just sending whatever it is that they want to send. Is this a little bit more of like a typical kind of song? Yes, but there's also a lot that still like sets it apart from everything, and again feels into like Georgia just sending whatever it is that they want to send. 7th place. This took me for a loop. I was shocked, so shocked that the song qualified, and I'm even more shocked considering like that it was like middle of the board in terms of the rankings for the second semifinal, and that is Latvia with Hollow by Dawns. They had 72 points. This is where like, this is like the first big jump in terms of points. This song was so boring to me. I'm sorry, the song was just really boring. It just wasn't that interesting to me. The vocal is great, yes, but the staging wasn't there. It's just one note throughout the entire song and everything. Like, it just, I don't get how it qualified. I really don't. I don't know if, like, the dude crying at the end, like, helped people feel bad and they decide to vote for him and everything. Like, I don't know if that was the case or if people were just, like, sympathizing with him. I don't know if there's, like, a deeper meaning and message behind the song for him and everything. I don't know. I don't know. And so, and I don't know if maybe if there is a deeper meaning for the song for him and, like, people, like, were kind of, like, relating to it and, like, were feeling bad for him or, like, relating to him and whatnot. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if this was, like, pity votes or if people were genuinely, like, really into the song. I don't know. I did not care for this. And I'm shocked that, like, not only did it qualify, but that it was in the middle of the board for the qualifiers. In 6th place, we have Estonia with the song that I am not even going to try to pronounce, but it is by 5 Minus and Pulup with 79 points. This, I was shocked that it did, again, middle of the board. I was thinking that this would be a little bit towards the lower end of the board. I still had a feeling that they would qualify just simply because of just how bonkers of a performance it was. Didn't expect too much from this and whatnot, and when it came to, like, the performance, I was just like, yeah, this is good and everything. Like, the song grew on me. Like, is it a favorite of mine? No. But is it a nice song? Yes. Is it on my Eurovision playlist? Yes. But other than that, though, it's alright. It's an alright song. Coming up in 5th place, we have another of my top 10, and that is Greece, which is Zari by Marina Sati with 86 points. This song is, again, something that I really enjoy. This staging, oh my god, this is like a TikTok nightmare. Oh my god, this is like TikTok generation chaos and everything. Like, it was wild, absolutely wild, insane staging, just a wild ass performance in general. Hated her outfit. I hated those shorts. But this was a fun song. It was really fun. The staging was crazy as all get out. The vocals were great. I just thought that this was a very solid performance from her, and I was very happy that they qualified, and I'm happy to see that they were, like, right in the middle of the board too. Coming up in 4th place, we have Switzerland with The Code by Nemo with 132 points. Big jump here. So the top 4 this year were definitely people's favorites this year in the second semifinal. This was another one of my top 10 favorites this year too, and I really love this song. It's a great song. It's beautiful. It's vocally challenging and vocally diverse and everything. It has a great message behind it, and it's just a great time. I really liked it, and I'm glad that they were able to qualify. I did like the staging, but once again, similar to Greece, I did not like that outfit. That was like non-binary queer chaos in an outfit, and I was not here for it at all. I liked the makeup though. I did like the makeup, but that was really the only thing I liked about the outfit. Gonna move on into 3rd place, which is another entry that I'm shocked qualified and that they did this well, and that is Armenia. Armenia came in 3rd place with the song Jacko by Lada Niva with 137 points. I am shocked. I am so shocked that they did this well. Like, I was shocked that they qualified. Like, when it comes to the ethnic bops, they can really go either which way. I really don't know how they qualified. I really don't. I don't, because for me, is this a nice song? Yes, but I don't necessarily see the appeal to it. And for me personally, like, did I see it potentially qualifying? Maybe and everything. I figured that it would be much lower on the board and everything if they were to qualify. I did not expect 3rd place. Coming up in 2nd place is going to be the biggest controversy this year. Well, one of the biggest controversies this year. And that is the Netherlands with Europapa by Joost Klein with 182 points. I personally don't like this song. It's just not for me. I know a lot of people are probably going to be upset with me saying that it wasn't my thing and that I didn't like it. That's just me, okay? It was just a bit too on the nose with it being like Eurovision camp and everything, and it's just not for me. It's just not my thing. I did understand that this was like a front runner for the competition and that this was potentially going to win the competition this year. And then this is when we get into the controversy, and I haven't read up on it since yesterday morning, so I don't know if there are any updates on this just yet. If I have any updates, I will post them up on the screen and everything. But there was something that happened behind the scenes during the second semifinal that caused the police to get involved and to investigate Joost. And because of that, he had to be disqualified. And he got disqualified just hours before the grand final. This was wild. Like, this was something that I woke up to seeing. Like, I woke up yesterday morning to a text from a friend of mine just being like, the Netherlands got disqualified. And I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean they got disqualified? Because, like, even though, like, the song isn't for me, I was, like, truly believing, like, the Netherlands is gonna win this year. And then it's just, like, they get disqualified. Like, just before the competition, like, hours before the competition. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? I was already starting to get excited about, like, the Netherlands hosting next year, because I was just like, oh, that means that, like, Nikki Tutorials might be hosting again next year. Yay, how fun would that be? And then it's just like, there's not even a chance now. And it's just like, what? And, like, there were a lot of rumors that I was reading up on. A rumor about him making an attack on Israel. And then there's also rumors going around that disqualifying him is an attack on Israel and everything. Like, it's just like, what? It was just, yeah. I don't know what was going on and everything. And we probably won't really know what is happening and everything. That was a wild thing to wake up to yesterday and saying that the front runner for the competition got disqualified. Granted, I know in 2019 Ukraine was looking to be a front runner that year with Siren Song by Maruf, but I mean, she got disqualified before the semifinals and everything, and long before the semifinals. So it's like, that was a different thing. Like, here's like Home Skillet got disqualified right before the grand final. And then in first place in the second semifinal, we have Israel with Hurricane by Eden Golan with 194 points. For me, do I think that this is a good song? Yes. I feel as if the song is much better live. I did not like the studio cut of this at all. Like, taking, like, political beliefs and, like, putting them off to the side. This song is good live. The studio cut, not so much. Still kind of wonder if this was possibly a pity vote in a way. I kind of wonder if that was the case. Like, I can't help but worry about that, especially after, like, Ukraine's win in 2022. Do I think that Ukraine deserved to win in 2022? Yes. I think that the song was good enough to be able to be a winning song and everything. This song here, I just feel as if it was just missing something and everything, that winning quality. Is it a good song? Yes. But seeing how well it did in the grand scheme of things, though, I do speculate if there was some maybe, like, pity votes thrown into it and whatnot. That's just me, though. That's just me. That's just me. And everything. Don't at me and everything. Like, because I do speculate still to this day that, like, if the war in Ukraine wasn't happening, that Ukraine probably wouldn't have won. That's a little thing that I have and whatnot. But then again, their song that year was really good. I still prefer the original song that they had selected that year, which was Shadows of Forgotten Answers by Alina Posh. I still prefer that over Stephania. That's just a me thing though. Alrighty, so that is the second semifinal. So let's go ahead and move on into the grand final. Now this year, we're not going to be talking too much about everything because a lot of these, majority of the entries that we're going to be covering, we've already talked about in the semifinals. So this is mostly, we're just going to be breaking down the rankings for everybody. This is where things start to get a bit interesting for me and everything. The only entries that I'll talk more about their stagings and whatnot is going to be the Big Five and Sweden. So yeah, those are the only countries that I'm really going to go in depth with their performance and everything, because this is the time that we could actually vote for them. So anyways, moving right along, let's go ahead and talk about these entries and these rankings. Coming up in last place with 16 points, 4 of which were from the public votes and 12 from the juries, was Norway. I was not expecting it to do this bad. I was not expecting it to be at the bottom. I was expecting it to be like probably lower end, well, maybe a little bit closer to the middle. I was not expecting it to be this low. Like, that was a massive shocker for me. In 24th place was Austria with 24 points, 5 of which being from the public vote and 19 from the juries. Again, did not expect this to do as badly. They were the last song and everything, so running order can play a little bit of a thing when it comes to the grand final and everything, because it just, at that point in time, like, we had been listening to these songs for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and so like you're starting to get fatigued and everything, so it's just like and whatnot, so you might just be ready for things to be done and over with. So yeah, but I also kind of think that something possibly could have played a role in this as well, and that is that in the grand final, they did things a little bit differently this year than they've done in the years that I've kept up with the competition, is that you could vote throughout the entirety of the show. Like, the moment that right before that first country went on stage to perform, you could start voting then. I wonder if that played a role in things too. 23rd place was Slovenia. I was a bit bummed that they didn't do better this year. I can kind of see why and everything, but at the same time though, I wish that they would have done better. When it comes to like the public and jury votes, it's a bit neck and neck. The public vote was 12, the jury was 15. I wish that they would have done better. I personally believe they should have done better. In 22nd place, we have Spain, which was Zora by Nebulosa. I thought that this was a great song. Is it the most innovative and like original thing and everything? No, it's just a really good time. It's just a good time, and their staging was great. It was gay. I loved it and everything. It was so good. I'm so glad that they brought the dancers out and that the dancers were able to wear those thongs on that stage and show off their asses, their amazing asses. I was so happy that they were able to do that and whatnot. So for that, I was very happy. But the fact that they only got a 30 points, God, I felt so bad for them. They got 11 from the public and 19 from the juries. So I had a feeling that it wouldn't do that great because, again, it's not a very competitive song. It's nothing that revolutionary. It's just a good time, and I feel as if that was the vibe that everybody got. Like, it's a good time, but it's not competitive. In 21st, we have Georgia with 34 points, 19 from the public and 15 from the juries. Honestly, would I have rather it see it do better? Yes, but honestly, the fact that they just simply qualified alone for me is good enough, because this was a feat for them to just being able to qualify. So for that, I'm very excited and happy about. Next up, we have Estonia, which they got 37 points. 33 was from the public, but only 4 was from the juries. The juries did not like this song at all for whatever reason. But then again, the juries typically vote a very particular way, and that is something that I've learned over the years with keeping up with the competition. The juries like particular songs, and the other songs they just don't care for. And it's usually the songs that the public cares for are the ones that the juries don't. And it's not very often that you see like common ground between the public and the juries. And that's why there's still so much controversy between whether or not the juries should be a thing or not and everything. Because like when you see like how big of a role like the public votes are starting to play now and everything, and just like seeing like how much like the juries are now starting to skew like the rankings and everything, it's really starting to make people like question if the jury votes is something that needs to be a thing or if it's something that needs to be reworked. A similar thing happened with Finland, which they came in 19th place. They had 38 points, 31 from the televote and only 7 from the juries. And again, I kind of felt that they would be like middle to end of the board and whatnot. I didn't think that it was gonna be that well received and everything. That song is a bit of a hard sell. Is it a good time? Is it very Eurovision? Yes and yes. But again, it's a hard sell. 18th place with the United Kingdom, which I'm surprised that they did this well. They came at 18th. They're not like dead last and everything. They did rather well this year compared to how they've done in the past and everything. This was Dizzy by Ollie Alexander. I thought that this was a okay song. If this would have been any other year, this would have been a really good song, but considering how good of a year this was, this just did not land very well. Staging was so strange to me. It was cool, yeah, it was a bit trippy and everything, yeah, but it was giving me like gay saw trap vibes, and I did not know how to feel about that. And also the song just isn't my thing, but the fact that the only votes that they got was from the juries was wild to me, because they got 46 votes and those votes only came from the juries. They got none from the public. So yeah, and Ollie Alexander is supposedly a big name within the music industry. So it's just like, the fact that he did so poorly, like he's the biggest name in the competition this year, and the fact that he did so poorly is just wild to think about. Coming up in 17th place was Serbia, and they had 54 points, 32 from the public and 22 from the juries. In the grand scheme of things, this is where I saw Serbia landing. Like after seeing the semifinal and then the grand final, this is around where I saw Serbia landing, like somewhere more in the middle of the board. And this is exactly where I thought that they were going to end up being, and that's where they got to. So I'm not surprised by that. Latvia, on the other hand, I am surprised that they are also in the middle of the board. I expected them to be a little bit lower, but again, they're in the middle like they were in the semifinals. So it's just okay. So they got 64 points, 28 was from the public and 36 was from the juries. Once we get to 13th place, that's when you're going to start seeing the jumps in the points, because this first like lower half of the rankings is all like quite low and quite like mid-range, and then you start seeing the jumps in the points and like bigger numbers popping in. So clearly the front runners were the top 13 this year. But before we get to them, we got to talk about number 15 and 14. So in 15th place we have Cyprus. They had 78 points, 48 from the public and 34 from the juries. This I felt was possibly going to be like middle of the board, lower end of the board. This is around where I saw it potentially ending up at. Lithuania came in 14th place with 90 points, and they had 58 from the public and 32 from the juries. This one was one of the fan favorites I had seen, just like very loosely and everything. It seemed like a lot of the fans were really into Lithuania song this year. But after seeing the rankings and how everything panned out and whatnot, it doesn't seem really like they were the fan favorite or thing. Like I think they were probably like an early fan favorite, but then they kind of just like lost speed, maybe, possibly, I don't know. Here is where we start seeing some really big numbers start popping up, is starting with 13th place with Luxembourg with 103 points, 20 from the public vote and then 83 from the juries. This was a moment when me and my friend started laughing, was when they announced how many televotes Luxembourg got, because they were like 20 points for Luxembourg. crickets from the audience. Because normally, like with everybody, like the audience is giving some sort of reaction to that particular country and everything. But when it came to Luxembourg, when they announced the public vote, nothing. It was so funny to us. It was just like crickets. Ain't nobody saying anything. And it's just like, okay. Coming up in 12th place, we have Germany. Yes, you heard correctly, Germany, which their song was Always on the Run by Isaac. This was a solid song. He's got a really great voice and the staging was really cool. I really liked the staging with the burning house and everything. I really liked that and everything. It was just very moody, bit extreme and whatnot. I really liked it. The song isn't really my thing. It's not my kind of jam, but it was done wonderfully. It was just really good, a very solid performance. They got how many points? They got 117 points. They only got 18 from the public, but they got 99 from the juries. You start seeing where the juries really start playing a role here is when we start getting into like this end of the board here, because this is where the jury's influence really starts playing a massive role in things. Anyways, moving on into 11th place, we have Greece, which they had 126 points, 85 from the televote and 41 from the juries. I want to say that they did get a 12 points from somebody. I can't remember. But yeah, like they did pretty well and everything. I was expecting them to be around this point, like more middle of the board and everything. I didn't really see them making it into the top 10, but more so, like I said, towards the middle of the board. Here is where we really start seeing the jury votes playing a massive role in the end results is with the top 10 this year. Because coming up in 10th place, we have Portugal. The juries really loved Portugal this year because they got 13 from the televote and then 139 from the juries. And when it came to the juries, they got a couple of 12 points from the juries. They didn't get that many 12 points, but they did get quite a few from the juries this year. And so the juries really enjoyed this song. I mean, it's a good song. It was a solid performance and everything, but it clearly didn't really resonate with the public vote at all. Even I'm starting to think that the jury system needs to be reworked because the juries are starting to dictate who actually wins the competition now and not the public vote anymore. And it's starting to bug me a little bit and everything. And like, granted, last year I did want Loreen to win last year. There's something that needs to be done because as you're going to start seeing, there are some things that are happening here with the votings and like with the rankings that are just starting to getting suspicious here and everything. This year, I don't know how I feel about the top 10 this year, okay? I really don't. Okay, because coming up in 9th place, we have is Sweden. With Unforgettable by Marcus and Martinez, they got 174 points, 49 from the public and 125 from the juries. For a song called Unforgettable, this song is very unforgettable. The lyrics were so naff. The only things that were good about the song was the beat and the staging. I don't get how this did so well. I really don't. I really don't get how this did so well and everything. Like, I was expecting this to be in like at most middle of the board, not in the top 10. Same thing goes with number 8 with Armenia. I was expecting Armenia to be more middle of the board. They came in 8th place with 183 points, 82 from the public vote and 101 from the juries. Now, granted, is it a good time? It's an ethnic bop. I can get behind it. But at the same time, though, it's just like, I'm shocked that it did as well as it did, even in the grand final. 7th place, we have Italy with La Noia by Angelina Mango. They got 268 points. This is where things are jumping. 268 points. They got 104 from the public vote and 164 from the juries. I don't think that they got a 12 points from the juries at all. It's just that they were just like on most people's lists for the juries. And I mean, like, the performance is very solid. The song is really solid and everything. I liked their final performance so much better than their semifinal performance. The outfits that they wore in the semifinals just made them blend into the background too much. And so I love the fact that they gave them different outfits for the grand final, because it really helped them to stand out and just made things look a lot nicer and a lot more appealing to the eyes, in my opinion, because the color palettes for like the outfits matched the same color palette as the background, and they just blended in. And so it was just weird to me. Did I really care for the song? Not really. Is it nice? Yes. Did I think that it would perform well and everything? Yes. I was expecting probably like around this point, like possibly top 10, higher end of the middle of the board type of rankings for this particular song here. So I was expecting it to do rather well, but also didn't really expect it to make it top 10. But then again, it's Italy. Italy is another one of the countries that people really tend to love in Eurovision. Moving on into 6th place, we have Ireland. Yes, Ireland made it into the top 10, and they almost made it to the top 5 with 278 points. 136 of those came from the public vote, and oddly enough, 142 came from the juries. I was not expecting the juries to like this at all. I was not, because again, typically the juries play a very particular way. As we are seeing so far, they have a particular type of songs that they enjoy. But yeah, they actually enjoyed this, which shocked me and everything. Like, I only remember them getting but 12 points from one country, and that was Australia, because Danny from Voyager announced it. I love Voyager. I've been a fan of theirs now for a decade, so I love them and everything. So when he popped up to announce Australia's 12 points, I was just like, oh, Danny! I was very happy and excited and whatnot. So he's also very, very attractive. Anyways, I'm really happy for Ireland. They've been struggling the last couple of years, and so for them to come from a place of like not qualifying for a lot to make it into the top 6 and everything is an amazing feat for them. In 5th place, this was interesting to me and everything, and again kind of makes me wonder if there were pity votes possibly involved. Again, I know I'm trying to not be political in this particular video and everything, but I can't help but wonder. I really can't help but wonder. And because that is Israel. Because Israel, they got 375 points. 323 of those points came from the public vote, and 52 of them came from the juries. This is where I'm thinking that like politics are getting involved and whatnot, and like politics and pity votes are getting involved here, because it's just like the juries didn't care for this at all and everything, but the public vote really enjoyed it. But I'll also mention this though, when it came to the jury votes and even presenting the votes for Israel that they got from the public votes, the audience was booing and everything. So the audience feels a type of way about Israel being in the competition this year, and they felt this way for a while now and everything. And even me, to a degree, I have felt a certain way too and everything, because like my thought process is like, if you're going to like, in my opinion, if you're going to like issue like a massive war on another country like Russia did, then you should be disqualified or like postponed from being in the competition until like you get your shit together and whatnot. And so, but whereas like Israel is able to compete in the competition, that's kind of how I feel about it and everything. Like, put my political beliefs aside and everything, if you're going to give Russia a certain treatment, you should give Israel the same kind of treatment and everything. That's just me and everything. Like, but I also know that a lot of people share the same sentiments and everything. A lot of Eurovision fans feel the same way, and clearly when it came to like the audience in Malmo, they felt the same way and everything. Like, they were making it very obvious that they did not want Israel there at all when it came time for the votings. At least like when it came to the performance, they did not really make much of a fuss at all. Like, they were still being like very much like, yay, go you and everything. But when it came to actually voting and whatnot, they made it very known how they felt about the country. The audience there clearly wasn't really that into Israel, yet the public vote is what got them so high and everything. So it's just like, I don't know if it's like the people at home that were voting for it, or if it was like people in the audience. I don't know. I don't know. This is where things got weird for me and everything. And so, and this was also the first country to be announced to have like this many points as well. Coming up in fourth place, we have France's entry, which is Mon Amour by Suleiman. And they got 445 points. 227 came from the public and 218 came from the juries. So this one was a fairly even split on how people were really feeling about it. The vocals were great. I feel like this was his best performance of the song. When it comes to like the studio version and some other performances of this song, like you could tell his voice is a bit strained and everything. Even in the semifinal when he performed this song, like you could tell like his voice was starting to strain a bit, but in this particular performance it was a lot more clear. It's more pretty. Like he didn't put too much power into his voice to where it would blow it out and everything, which was something that people were starting to notice, that it's just like he's doing too much before the competition and he's possibly going to blow his voice out before the competition even begins. But luckily in the grand final, when it counted, his voice was at its best and he did wonderfully. Like the song and the performance was great and everything. It's not my particular thing and everything, it's not my jam and whatnot, but he did an amazing job, and for that I tip my wig to you. Also, he is so fine. He is so fine. Moving on to third place, we have, I was so shocked that they got this high. One of my top four made it into the top three, and that is Ukraine with 453 points. 307 came from the public votes, and then 146 came from the juries. This was a wonderful moment for me. Like, I loved this so much. Like, again, like I mentioned with talking about the semifinal performance, the staging and the song is just so great. I'm glad that this resonated with the viewers as much as it did, and even with the juries, because they did get, I think they only got about one doucement from the juries. I want to say they might have gotten two, but yeah, really happy with how they did this year, especially with the running order that they had to. Like, they were the second one to go this year, so like they were very early on, so to see them do so well when they performed at the very beginning, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Then we have the true proof of why I'm now starting to believe the Eurovision fans, and that the jury system really needs to be reworked, or the entire voting system needs to be reworked, because yeah, so coming up in second place, we have Croatia. They had 547 points. 337 points came from the public vote, and 210 came from the juries. I think that they got maybe one or two doucement from the juries, but when it came from the public votes, they won the public vote this year. But it was also a very tight win with the public votes this year too, because normally, like in the past with me keeping up with the competition, when it came to the public votes, sometimes the public votes can go from anywhere from, like, when it comes to like the public favorites, can be about like 400 to 500 points. This year is only but 300 something. And so that again goes to show you that this was a very strong year, but also goes to show you that there were particular songs that the public was really going for. And when you break down the public votes, the three songs that the public voted for were Croatia, Ukraine, and Israel. The people that freak out and like lose their minds over the jury votes and everything are probably like still going on about it this year, and are like really hammering it in this year, because it's just like this year is very true proof that like something might need to be worked on with the voting system and whatnot. Because when we get to talking about Switzerland, because the juries, it's starting to seem like the juries are having far too much power now. and everything. And I'm not the type of, like, I am happy with the winner this year. I'm really happy with the winner this year. They were in my top 5. I personally believe that Croatia deserved to win, in my opinion. I really wanted them to win this year. I don't necessarily think that they were my favorite, but in terms of like the performance and everything, this is like whom I wanted to win and everything. Like when it came to like my top 4 and seeing like how they did and everything, I'm like, this is whom I was seeing more so as a winner and everything. But we need to talk about the winner, which is Switzerland. Switzerland, they won this year with 591 points. So very close to Croatia. They only won by, how many points did they win by? They only won by a handful of points this year. They only won by 44 points this year. It was a very close win, but the thing is though, is that the jury votes is what ultimately got them the win, because the public vote, they got 226, and the juries, they got 365. This was the jury favorite. They were getting jury votes left and right. Like they were getting the 12 points from just about every single country. Like it was a bit annoying, honestly, for like me, and even my friend was also a bit annoyed. It's just like, the song is good, but it ain't that good and everything. Like he didn't really care for the song. I do really enjoy the song. I find, like I mentioned before, I really like the dynamics of it and everything, and that it's very vocally diverse and everything. Is a very versatile song. It really shows off Nemo's vocal range, and even when I sing along to it, it really shows off my range too. But still, like, it's a great song. It's got a great message behind it, and had really good staging, and it was just a really great song. Do I think it deserved the win? Absolutely. But if you're gonna like start looking at things and paying attention to like what it is that the public wants and everything versus the juries, this is where I'm starting to not necessarily side with the people being like the jury needs to be abolished. I still do think that the juries should exist in the competition, but I think that the system needs to be reworked, because the juries are now, like I said, they're starting to have far too much power. Even with last year, even though like Loreen won the jury vote last year, like other countries were still like a favorite amongst the juries and whatnot. Like it wasn't just her getting a country's 12 points. There were other countries and everything. But this year, there was a clear favorite amongst the juries. And it was getting to a point where like they were getting so many wins from like the juries that it got to the point where Nemo wasn't really even responding and everything. Like it was just like they were just there and everything, just taking everything in. And it was also getting to the point where the other countries were coming up to them and hugging them and everything and celebrating with them and just being like, yes, you did it. Like my country gave you 12 points. Give me a hug and everything and whatnot. And it was just a great moment. It was like, it was so nice seeing those countries like just behaving so nicely to them and everything, and just being like, we see that you're getting all these points and everything, and although it might seem a bit annoying and everything, like we're happy that you're doing well. I loved when Bambi Thug went up to Nemo at one point to give them the hug and everything. When Ireland gave them the 12 points, like they hugged them and everything, and then when it got announced that Nemo won the competition and everything, Bambi was just crying. It was a moment for the queers. It was a moment for the gays. The moment for the days. It was a good moment and everything. It was a happy time. I'm still happy that Switzerland won, because again, they were one of my favorites this year, and I'm really happy for them. They definitely deserved the win. It's just like I said, I'm starting to get to a point where I'm like, something's just a bit odd here. Again, this is all in the name of the competition. This is how the competition works. And I'm not really complaining about it. It's just that it's just something that I really noticed this year and everything. That it's just like something something just needs to be done a little bit differently. Then again, this was, like I mentioned before, a very strong year. And when it came to like the public votes top 3, hell, even the top 5, like they're all kind of sort of close to each other in like terms of numbers, because like the public vote top 5 is going to be, like I mentioned, Croatia being first, Israel being second, Ukraine being third, and then France being fourth, and then Switzerland being fifth. And Switzerland is only fifth, but by 1 point. And then in typical Eurovision fashion, at the end of the night, the winning country performs their song again. And something that I found very odd about this year is that they didn't bring out Emo's staging. Like, they just ran around on the stage and everything with no real direction at all. And I was just like, okay. And I'll also mention this, like, again, like, I was very happy for them and everything, like, when they were making, like, the long walk to the main stage from the green room, which the green room this year was interesting to me. I found the green room this year was, like, wild. Anyways, like, their walk from the green room to the stage to, like, get the trophy and everything, like, it was a nice little moment, but you could tell that it was a long fucking walk this year, and I was just like, I'm thinking, like, they're still walking there? Like, how far away do they have to go to get there? Like, it was strange to me. One moment that I thought was just, like, really, like, cute and everything, they were just like, all right, it's time for you to perform your song and everything, and they're just like, do I have to? And it was just like, oh, it was so cute. It was such a cute moment, because it's just like, clearly they're in, like, an emotional state right now. They probably don't want to perform this shit and everything right now, but you're just like, yes, you need to, like, go out there and, like, show off your win and everything. It's just like, they're clearly in a state right now. I don't think that they were wanting to, but they did so anyways. And like I mentioned, they didn't even bring out their actual staging, which again, I thought was strange, but whatever. Because of the fact that they didn't have like their actual staging, it's just like, it just felt really disjointed just seeing them running around on stage, just doing whatever it was that they wanted to do, because the cameras aren't really sure what it is that they're wanting to do and needing to do and everything. They're just going wherever and whatnot, trying to keep up and trying to make something out of it. That is the aftermath of Eurovision 2024. This was a very good year for Eurovision, a really strong one, and it was a good time. It was a really good time. There was some controversies, there were some interesting things that happened, interesting decisions were made, and overall, it was a really solid year. How did you guys feel about it? Let me know in the comments down below, but be civil about it. Please be civil about it and everything. I know Eurovision is a very polarizing thing amongst the fandom and whatnot, and the fandom is absolutely bonkers. So please be civilized in the comments and whatnot. Be gentle with everybody. We're gonna be civilized in the comments and everything and whatnot. Also be civil towards me. These are all my personal thoughts and opinions and everything and whatnot too. So it's just like, be nice to me and everything. We're all entitled to our own opinion. It's my opinion! That is it for this video. It's gonna be a long fucking video, and I do apologize for that. And I need to stop filming because I only have 17 minutes left of space left on my camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and go, and I'm gonna eat some lunch, and I'm gonna move around because my balls hurt. So I will see you guys in my next video, whenever that might be. So until then, goodbye.